Welcome back out to the Big A. Top of the third inning with the Astros leading it at the score of 1-0. It's our pleasure to welcome in Angels General Manager Billy Eppler to our broadcast booth. And Billy, thank you first of all for joining us. And no, it's been a tough season for the Angels this year, and you've had your hands full all season long, especially with all these injuries. 1 year under your belt now. You're going into the offseason. I would imagine you will go into the offseason I guess looking at a lot of different things, especially after you've had so many players on this roster this season.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, and I'm going to go into this offseason knowing that October is a very important month for the Angels, and it's really important, you know, because of Garrett and what we're going to see from Garrett in his instructional league starts, and you know, Tyler, you know, today being able to throw with the velocity that he wants to throw with, and appear healthy and feel healthy, that's going to be important, you know, and how he feels tomorrow. But, you know, October, while we might not be playing games, which is unfortunate, but October is going to be very important for us and for our rotation for 17.
How much does the planning hinge on Garrett? I mean, because it changes the mindset, I would imagine, in your shoes of which way you end up going.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so much more than one, you know, than one name in the depth chart. You know, it's a big name in the depth chart. You know, it's a top of the rotation name in the depth chart, and so trying to replace that, you know, through free agency or you know, perhaps through a trade is pretty difficult to do. So it's you know, a lot kind of hinges on the next 3 weeks.
And you mentioned Garrett Richardson, you see all Tyler Skaggs through the day, but how much does that make you smile though when you think about those two guys and how they feel right now physically and mentally, that it's got to make you feel good going into the offseason?
No question. You know, the feedback that we get from them and how they feel, you know, day after pitching, which is, you know that's a big one. And how they feel the day after pitching is you know, it's good that they're not having any kind of, you know, anything problematic, and it's just the normal kind of bumps and bruises that come with it. So that's an important thing for us.
And one of your first moves you made as a general manager, we talked about him in our opening day, Andrelton Simmons. I mean, you knew you were getting a special player, and some of the plays he's made this year, I mean, even you as general manager, the expectations, I mean, he's got to be beyond what you've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, you know, getting to watch him, you know, and he was a player that was scouted a lot by my previous employer. Yeah. You know, we followed him around quite a bit because there was a guy that needed to be replaced in New York that wore number 2. And so we you know, we followed Andrelton among some other guys around. And then when I got over here, you know, I you know, remembered how much time we spent on him and knew how special he was. But getting to watch it, you know, on a 140, 150, 160 game basis is, you know, it's pretty special. And, you know, when we made that deal, you know, we didn't need to make the deal at that moment in time, right? There was a shortstop here, but, you know, part of my job, part of the job of our baseball operations department is to think about this year, but also to think about, you know, the short-term forecast and look into 17 and look into 18 and in his case, you know, look into 19 and 20. And so there's things that we want to accomplish here, and we knew we needed an above-average all-star caliber shortstop to accomplish the things we want to accomplish. So we went out and did it.
One of the other acquisitions that you also made on the left side of the infield, Yunel Escobar, and you know, while he's had some issues over at third base, offensively, did you think that he would come in and settle into that leadoff spot and perform the way he has? Because he's been absolutely fantastic in that number 1 spot.
Yeah, I mean, we felt that we were getting a guy that honored our philosophy, you know, and our philosophy of not swinging at pitches outside the strike zone. That doesn't mean walking, right? That just means getting a good pitch to hit and being able to drive that pitch, and, you know, his contact ability, which is important. It's important for how we like to run our offense. That contact ability, that ability to know the strike zone, you know, has been welcome here, and it's helped us move up our run scoring, you know, over half a run a game than where we were, you know, last year. And you know, I know he had some hiccups early defensively on the throwing side, but everything seems to be pretty, you know, pretty kosher right now.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation when even in spring training about making contact and having the club right now fewest amount of strikeouts, and because of that, the baseball's been put in play. It gives Mike Scioscia that option to do some things, to be able to put guys in motion, score some more runs, give you a better chance to win games because of that contact.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we have a very, very simple philosophy that runs top to bottom in this organization. When we go gravitate to an offensive player, almost there.
Yeah, I mean, no one makes that play or even comes close to making that play. He's in the outfield grass. That's the beauty of him. He wants every baseball in his glove and make a play.
Yeah. He's got a cool nickname too, Simba. That's a pretty fun one. But to get back to what I was saying, on the offensive side, when we're gravitating towards guys that don't chase pitches outside the strike zone and know where their impact zone is, right? And we have some certain terminology that we use over here, but where they're driving the baseball, where they're striking the baseball the hardest. And what kind of the vow I made to both our major league staff as well as our player development staff is that players walking in the door here will have an element of plate discipline and contact and or power. Ideally, you get all three, right? But there's not a lot of players that have all three. So they will all have plate discipline, and they'll either have contact or they'll have power. And hopefully we do run into the situation where they have all three. But if we do that and we honor that, we're going to go places offensively.
Well, talk about a little bit some of the players that you've acquired, whether it's waiver wires or buying them from another franchise. And Jeffrey Marte kind of comes to mind because you look at the numbers, and who would have thought? I mean, and we just talked about it a couple of innings ago, his evolution even just this year. I mean, he was a virtual out with the breaking ball early on, and now he's relaxed, calmed down, more at bats, a little more experience, and he's settled into a very nice player.
Yeah, the more time he spends in that batter's box, the more comfortable he's going to get. And the more pitches he's going to be able to read and pick up spin a little bit earlier, and learn how guys are trying to attack him. And he does have that selectivity, and he does obviously have some power. So there's some. I like to use the terminology. There's a little anger in that swing, and it's good to see.
Well, you're trying to put together a roster. I mean, as soon as the season's over, and it will be that on Sunday, you guys are already in that process of trying to put together what would be your opportunity to have that 25-man roster, 40-man roster next year. I know you don't have no time off.
Yeah,
we'll be semi on vacation, but you won't be. You'll be working right away.
Yeah.
And some of these guys you see that is getting an opportunity to play. Any of them have that opportunity to be able to be on the roster next year? What do you see?
Yeah, I think there are going to be some guys that we carry through the winter and that come in and play an important role for us next year, either as a semi-regular or a bench complement. So I do think there's some guys, and there's some things that we learned about some of the guys, whether it's talking about J.C. Ramirez or talking about Diola Esquera or talking about Jeffrey Marte. I mean, some guys that we can carry in and feel good about penciling in on that depth chart for next spring training.
Tyler White draws the walk, so with 2 outs, 2 on, 2-0 Houston. Hernandez will come to the plate. Earlier today, Jared Weaver, obviously he's not going to be able to make the start tomorrow, dealing with that back issue. He's a guy that stated that he'd like to come back. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you if you're going to go out and sign him, but are you going to go out and sign him for next year? No, I'm just kidding.
That's pretty good. Do I look like I'm aging in this job? That's what actually I meant to ask you, because my wife said I kind of looked like I was aging a little bit. No, just to do that question justice. We do have a time period. Unfortunately, we're done playing tomorrow, right? So we're going to have this time period between Monday and when the actual kind of free agent hot stove bell rings. During that time period, I'll find some time to connect with Weave. He and we talk fairly regularly. We talk all the time when I'm in the clubhouse, but we'll text back and forth here and again. So we'll have an opportunity to sit down and chat a little bit about expectations and how we want to proceed this winter. And but before I get to that point, I want to sit down again with our major league staff, and I want to sit down with our pro scouts and just get a complete lay of the land.
Sure. Billy, we appreciate it as always. Good luck this offseason.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. 2-0 Houston as we head to the bottom of the third.